I'm currently writing a story that I plan to enter into the Parsec short story writing contest. And I originally saw this contest on Horror Tree. I don't know why Horror Tree, of all websites, is advertising for Parsec, but there you go. Before then, I never even knew Parsec existed, but I'm trying to get my name out there as an author, enter contests, submit stories to publications. So I decided to enter Parsec, especially since they have a youth story prize, which will hopefully be a lot easier to win because I won't be competing with as big of a pool of competitors. But the big point is, when I originally started trying to come up with an idea for what story I was going to write, I had a few ideas in my head, but nothing good. And I started writing even knowing that I probably didn't have anything good. One of those things that I started writing a story off of 2 lines that were bouncing around in my head. All I knew about the story was that it started with one character saying, "So, what's your professional opinion?" And the other character says, "Smells fucking disgusting." That's all I knew about the story. So, a lot of the questions that I hear from people are, how do I come up with ideas for my story? I want to write. I'm sitting down, I'm in front of my computer, I'm enthused. Let's go, let's write something. What the hell am I gonna write? And something I hear often is, I have no ideas. I hear this from people talking to me about writing. I hear this from people talking online about writing. I just don't have anything to write about. But there's a key point that I'm going to highlight here. You never have no ideas. There's no such thing as having no ideas. There's such thing as having no good ideas. And that's a big difference. Every story you write doesn't have to be good. The title of the video is Write Something Terrible. And that's the lesson I'm trying to get across here. Be comfortable. A good writer writing something, an idea that isn't amazing, dog crap, and do it well enough that it's good. That starts from a bad some idea. Ideas, just from their genes, really, are just bad. I've read books like this, published books that I'm like, I would love this. The author did this so well, but just the idea, right from the get-go, is bad. That's how I decide what books I want to pick out from the library. I read the synopsis. Do I like the premise? But 99 point something % of the things you write will never be published. Most of the things that you write over the course of your life won't be anywhere near a publishable quality. Especially, you're a beginning writer, you're not going to write almost anything. If you do write anything that's a publishable quality, it's a few sentences here and there that stand out particularly well. Every author knows the feeling when a sentence pops into your head that's just amazing. Or at least to you. At least you love it. Maybe it's a face only a mother could love, so to speak. That happens a lot to me. But you come up with a sentence you really love. And that feeling of satisfaction is a big thing that pushes early authors on. But for the most part, your writing is going to be crap. I've looked back on earlier things I've written and thought to myself, wow, I wrote that. That kind of hurts. But just accept that is the reality. And try not to fall into what I like to call this trap that a lot of early authors fall into, the perfect sentence trap. And what I mean by that is the trap of going through your sentences and being like, this word, that word, this just doesn't hit. This doesn't have that punch that really good stories I've read have had. This doesn't stick with me like those stories do. And then you try and analyze your sentences, your story on the macro level and all the way down to the micro level, and you aren't willing to write anything, to put any sentence down on the page unless it is a perfect sentence. But here's the thing. This early on in your journey, you don't know enough to know what a perfect sentence is. I've fallen into this trap myself, just sitting there looking at my page and knowing that there is a sentence I could write that would get things across, but it doesn't feel punchy. It doesn't feel good enough. And you do want to write the best sentences you can. Editing your story on the micro level is a good thing to do. Line edits are a big part of what you get better at as a writer. That's what I'm doing with the manuscript for the novel that I'm currently working on. I've written almost all of it, and most of it works plot-wise. There aren't any big plot changes to make at this point. What is still left to be changed are the sentences. I got better at sentence craft over the course of writing this novel, and now I'm going back and applying that to the earlier chapters. But when writing those earlier chapters, if earlier on I would not have written a single sentence unless it was as good as a sentence I could write now, let alone a perfect sentence, because I'm not just banging perfect sentence, perfect sentence, perfect sentence. I'm good at writing, but I'm nowhere near perfect. So if I had not accepted any sentence that was anything less than perfect, I would never be where I am today. So, in summary, you have my permission. Go out today. Write something that nobody would ever publish, nobody who's outside of your family would ever read. Write something that you will never show the light of day. Write something that you will bury in the deepest, darkest trenches of your Google Docs, where nobody, probably not even you, unless you're digging it up for old time's sake and for laughs, many years later, will ever see it again. But the practice you get writing that horrible, horrible story will make you into a good writer. You might not be as good as me. I'm not as good as others. You take Brandon Sanderson, take Scott Lynch, take anybody who is a very good author. I guarantee you, the first thing they wrote, probably the earliest 500 things they wrote, were terrible. I mean, maybe not 500 if they're that good, but you know what I mean. At least the earliest 100, were absolutely unreadable. And they would never have gotten to where they are if they did not write those horrible, horrible tales. So go and write one yourself. Comment below at how this helped you create a story that, hey, at the end of the day, might not be as terrible as you think. The story I'm writing for the Parsec contest started as 1% of an idea, became 2, became 5, became 10, became 50. Now I have it all planned out, and it is not as bad as I originally thought it would be. So just because you're starting it and you don't know where you're going at the beginning doesn't mean it won't go someplace good. So try it out and comment below how this helped you create some sort of story that helped you get better, which at the end of the day is what's important. Please do like and subscribe to get more videos that will help you write something that's hopefully less terrible than what you write today.